Hey there! Welcome to Chemistry 102 Reactions of Organics. Today we're going to take a few samples of organic chemicals and react them with some reagents that allow us to tell what the functional groups are. We're also going to look at two unknown compounds and see if we can identify them. The unknowns are going to be one of these first five that we're testing. Here we are quickly loading some tubes with about a milliliter of each thing. What we have in tube 1 is ethanol. In tube 2, 2-methyl-2-butanol. In tube 3, 1 octene. In tube 4, formaldehyde. Tube 5, we have acetone or 2-propanone. In our last two tubes, we're going to test unknown 9A and unknown 9B. Our first test is going to be bromine water. So we're just putting a little bit of bromine water in all of the tubes. Bromine water tests for the presence of a double bond, so an alkene. And what we'll see is with an alkene, the color disappears on reaction with bromine. Here's a little chart. Here we have 1 octene reacts with bromine, and then it gets brominated. The orange color is the bromine itself, and so any alkene reacting with bromine is going to then become colorless. Here we are shaking the tubes because in some cases the organic molecule is not soluble or not miscible with water. However, in tube 3 we clearly see that after shaking it, the color disappears. That must be an alkene. The rest of these will shake up and will confirm that there are no carbon-carbon double bonds in any of the other chemicals. From right away, we can pretty much tell neither of our unknowns is octene. Now we move on to the next chemical, also orange. Actually, all of our reagents are orange. This one is called Brady's reagent, and it's dinitrophenylhydrazine. What we're looking for is a precipitate because this Brady's reagent reacts with both aldehydes and ketones. See a definite precipitate in the middle tube and then a slightly lesser amount in tubes 5 and 7. Here's how Brady's reagent works. For example, with acetone, the amine on the end of diphenylhydrazine reacts in a condensation reaction to form a compound containing the acetone in it. So in here it's acetone 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazone. That in generally is not very soluble, and so we see that as a precipitate. Here we are just double checking, no precipitate in tube 1, no precipitate in tube 2 or 3. We already know tube 3 is pretty much an alkene, so there's going to be no reaction. And we get a small amount of precipitate in the acetone tube and a very obvious amount in the formaldehyde tube. No precipitate in unknown A, and this one looks pretty similar to one of the other tubes. There's a final look at everything, so we can pretty much identify unknown 9B now. Our next orange reagent is going to be a chromium 6 chromic acid solution, and this will react with any alcohol or aldehyde. The product then is going to be something that's green, some sort of chromium 3 compound. And so here we're going to look for a color change from orange to a greenish color. That will tell us that it's either an alcohol or an aldehyde. So we have a definite, pretty quick color change with tube 1 and 4. Tube 1 is ethanol again. Tube 4 is formaldehyde. Tube 5 is acetone. Here we're just going to quick review primary, secondary, and tertiary alcohols. Chromic acid will only react with the primary and the secondary. In the case of the primary, it gets oxidized and forms either a ketone or a carboxylic acid, and that depends on the strength of the oxidizing agent. Secondary alcohols can get oxidized to ketones. You can notice that the CH and the OH become just a C double bond O. In a tertiary alcohol, there's no reaction possible because upon oxidation, you will see that carbon has 5 bonds over there. And since that's impossible, in normal organic chemistry, we say no reaction. In the case of oxidizing an aldehyde, we can see that there's a carbon-hydrogen bond that can become a carbon-OH bond. But in the case of a ketone, there's no carbon-hydrogen bond, so adding an OH would mean too many bonds on the carbon, and that's not allowed. Now you have all the information to fill out your data analysis sheet, and I'm sure you can identify what unknown A and B are. Thanks, and have a great day.